good morning. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands and voice, Justin and John. Hey, everybody. How's it going? It has been a morning. Now, it's like my mornings are like always balanced, like razor thin. Like everything has to happen in order at the right time in order for everything to function and get here on time. Now, the good thing is I went like 20 minutes over yesterday, so at least I get my hours. But yeah, it was just kind of a morning. Allergies also, so I'm like, just was slow, too slow. Got my exercises in though. But then I don't know, I forgot to prep a bunch of stuff last night, so then, it all goes out the window the next morning, right? Oh, dearie. So how was Reaper Live yesterday? Those of you who watched. Oh, I made it. I mean, it's just when am I going to make it? I've been so good this week. I should have known that Friday was going to be a curse. Because I've been like, yeah, on it, on time, super cool, All right, Wyvern. It's wing day. Wing day. And I think I'm going to start blocking in some of the underbelly color as well, the pale underbelly color. Interesting, planer. Have you not seen the Wyvern before? Let's see here. For those who have not seen the Wyvern before, one second. You get over to my reference photo here. I buried the reference photo a little bit because, well, lots of stuff. There it is. I take too many photos. So there's our reference photo. And we're kind of doing, I'm basing the wing patterns on this, but we're not doing a bright red. I don't want a bright red on a Wyvern. I want more brownish reds and oranges. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, that's the one thing I lack here in South Bay, is there is not, to my knowledge, not that I have seen, there is not a good wings joint. And I'm like, I have a decent Texas barbecue joint, and I don't have a wings joint on Castro? So it's like we have this one street, like they have in moderate towns where there's a ton of restaurants. I can't believe that there's not a good wings joint. But yes, so this is our pattern that we've been following. I do want to block in the legs today and probably the tail as well. And then I want to block in the underside colors, I think. I want to start really getting some of this stuff figured out, put together. But we will work a bit on the wings because I got a little bit, I liked it more when I used the mahogany brown over here than when I used the dark colors here. But at this point we've probably got no choice. I can bring some mahogany brown in here, but you're not going to get the same effect because I've laid down that darker color. So be very, very cautious when you're doing like something with black in it over an orange yellow or anything like that. It's going to be really hard to wipe that out. I thought I was going to like it and then I didn't. So now I'm going to have to deal with it and introduce some of those dark colors onto the other side of the other wings so that they look correct. I disagree, Shadow Raven, because I can't have chicken nuggets. So, because breading is not something I can have. So I am a wings devotee. Yeah, that's over a bit. That's over a bit. Like I'm spoiled now. I've got like so many great things within walking distance. It's like I can see why David likes city living. I can see it. There's some things I don't like about it, but. Let's see. And being able to walk to the grocery store, because there is actually, there's 2 grocery stores within walking distance from us. Just little ones, like little local groceries, where it's a little more pricey, but at least you don't have to get in the car. Yeah, so I get it, why this is nice. So let's get out our colors. Remember, we were using mahogany brown, one of my all-time fave colors. I think my light's a little close. One second, though. I adjust it. Yeah, just a little bit. All right. But yeah, mahogany brown, one of my all-time favorite colors. I love it. I've always loved it. That's why it made it into the line in the first 100 colors. It is also lovely for auburn hair if you do not have the auburn hair triad, or even if you do, it's a little more red and a little darker. So you could start your auburn hair a little bit more on that side, a little bit more on the goth girl red side. Interesting. Smoking the wings. That's interesting. I'll remember that though, Declareman. Hi, Rackham. So this is me in particular, and different Reaper streamers will use different cameras, I think. Although most of them may have gone to different setups. But this is an IPVO. It is a document camera, which if you're trying to get really close up and show brushstrokes on miniatures and details, I feel like it's instrumental. I used a webcam when I first started streaming for Reaper. Sucked. So Reaper got a document camera of a different type, and it was an older one, and I liked it, so I went looking for a new version. And the IPVO, which is IPEVO, this is the VZX, I think. But it's nice. You can raise and lower it. You can zoom in and out. It's a very good camera. I really feel like, and you can stream at a really high pixel if you have the bandwidth. So it's actually meant for like students, teachers in classrooms. And that's, since it's a document cam and it has to pick up fine details of text, that's why it's so good on details. Also, though, you've got to remember you need a good lighting setup and a good backdrop to make everything look right. So it's not just the camera. The camera is magic, don't get me wrong. But you do need all of the components for a really good picture. See, now everybody wants spicy wings. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty handy, isn't it, Planer? Okay. No problem, Rackham, but that's it. It's IPVO VZX, no problem. But yeah, remember your lighting setup too. Lighting is really important when you're doing miniatures shoots. I see so many great painters with bad lighting. I just want to like, what? Or a weird backdrop. And I'm just like, you gotta like just show people the money. You gotta show them the model. Like, and I get frustrated when I'm watching them paint. Oh no. Oh no, Shadow Raven. Yeah, I mean, I grew up more in the country, so I get it. Yeah, there's bonuses to each side. I'm more of a country mouse, or at least a suburbia mouse, and David is definitely a city mouse. All right, let's get the orange brown out. I think I've gone entirely to orange brown. I'm going to crossfire orange off my list. It was a little bit too bright and a little bit just not quite what I was looking for. Yeah, we'll start with that. I do need a little bit more. I think I do need a little bit of my my Kraken ink to just get the veins or the stripes that are closest to the body, and then I can fade it out and it'll look right. And I'll try to paint some mahogany brown over this, but it's just really hard when you got something with black in it, especially over an orange or a yellow, because it's instantly going to go more green. You're instantly going to see the color difference there. I could also try glazing a little bit more of my mahogany over these colors and try to shift them a little bit, because I really prefer this side, but yeah, it is what it is. I would never go deep in the country, Valandar. I grew up in an area where I was about 10, 15 minutes from decent shopping and, big stores and stuff like that. And that, to me, that's like awesome. Like if I'm 15 to 20 minutes away from civilization, but I'm still out in the country enough for things to be scenic and beautiful and without a lot of, where I can see trees and mountains and things, like that's what I like. Yeah, right. CD Clearman, you've got pretty much a good setup there, in my opinion. Like, because then you're near to like natural beauty. And so you can enjoy it in your backyard and around you, but then you are just a short hop in to get like cool stuff. So I don't know. I always thought when I was younger that I want to live up on a mountain, but I don't know. The mountain would probably be too far away from civilization. Yeah, see, that's crazy. That's really, yeah, 2 days driving from a big city. I mean, even just, I'm okay with a moderate city. Like, I just need to be able to get to some, like, a Sprouts, or something similar. Or a Whole Foods or a whatever, right? I just like to be close to some sort of organic grocery store. Otherwise, I don't shop much. So, like, I've really gone away from consumer culture except for miniatures. All my books are digital now, unless there's one of my favorite authors puts out something special. Then I might buy a book. But I used to buy books all the time. That's where all my money went to, physical books. I never thought I would go digital. But these days with limited space, I have gone. Yeah, that's way out there, Planer. Too much for me. Too much for me. Too far out. All right, I'm gonna keep my mahogany brown a little bit thick, because I'm gonna try to put it over these stripes here and get them more reddish like the other side. And if I thin them too much, that's not going to cover over that really dark Kraken ink. And I'm gonna mix up my orange. Yeah, I mean, that's what your trade-off is, right? I'm kind of looking around here, just 20 minutes away towards Santa Cruz. Not only would we be like less than half an hour to the ocean, but we'd be up in the mountains there. And it's a lot cheaper to get housing up there. But it is 20 minutes away from, you know, big stuff. There's a town I have my eye on that actually is kind of a little, almost a touristy town. Like, it has some really nice restaurants in it and stuff like that. It's kind of a nice little artsy culture. So, you know. Yes, Luthar. Planer's got me. Patreon.com/paintingbig. I have a new PDF up right now of my NMM on my bust that I was working on for so long and still working on. Still will be working on for so long because it's a high-end paint job. But the PDF itself should have some useful tips, especially in the beginning, for those thinking about NMM and wondering, you know, how it works. So that's available right now at the $10 level. And of course, all of the 2 years of previous content, over 2 years that I've been doing this, is also available for $10. So, you know, sign up. Thank you for everybody who does sign up. I do love my Patreon. I'm going to be working on the new video today. We're going to do a video with Darius, my class model, because I really like him. He's just simple. He's a great class model. So I wanted to do some cloth, kind of like a thing about highlighting and cloth and stuff. People are always like, where do I put my highlights? How do I do it? You know, and I do it, but the more times you do a video showing something like that, the more likely something you say or something on the model will get it to click for someone. So we'll do cloth highlighting for $2 this month. Anyway, that was my plug for Patreon. So thank you very much for asking, Luthar. Hopefully you'll go over. I do have some free stuff, so go look at the free stuff. Yeah, Twisted Oma. I used to live in a subdivision in Texas when I was working at Reaper. Hey, Trouble. It's kind of started out as a late Friday, but I'm going to say it's a good day. Remember, that's my morning mantra now, is it's a good day. And I'm going to persist in thinking that. It is Friday, after all. I mean, Wyvern and Shirley. That's terrible, Daffodweir. Alrighty, so let's see. And I need... No, Valk, not there. I was looking, I don't know. I'm looking just in general, but David and I are still talking about, you know, whether he'd be willing to commute, so it's kind of all up in the air. But there are a number of little towns up in the mountains up there that are kind of cool. Kind of cool, still close to Mountain View and Santa Clara and San Jose and all the places that we like right now. We just would have a... There are certain criteria that David wants that I'm just like... Ardius, if you are looking for MVP browns, depends on what you're painting, but either... Wait. I'm grabbing my bottles of it. Where's my other bottle? There it is. Okay, so your MVP browns. For darker browns is these two, and also this one. These are all beautiful. Black and brown is a dark chocolate color. Russet brown is the equivalent of a burnt umber painter's tube paint, and ruddy leather is a nice reddish brown. So if you paint a lot of green or blue, ruddy leather is a very good leather color. If you paint a lot of NMM, the other brown that you really need, like gold and NMM, is rich leather. Those are your keys. Those are your key browns. Ruddy, the other one that I really like that's just a good moderate dark brown that doesn't clash with anything, that gets along with everything, is Muddy Brown 9028. And you can shade that with the black and brown that I just talked about. But I tend to think medium and dark browns give you higher utility because they go with everything, as long as they're not too orangey, too reddish, too etc. So yeah. Got it? Quindy on it. Quindy's on it. Volcano has purple and gray in it, so remember that makes it different. Color theory wise, makes it different. It can still work great. Another color that's very close to Volcano right now, because Volcano is canceled, I think, is Nut Brown 9427. You can get a lot of utility out of this. It's a little bit richer and more saturated. I think I used it on. Let me see. I was using it. I've got a new leather recipe that I really like with Nut Brown, using Nut Brown as a base. Yeah, I actually used it and highlighted it with a more golden brown on her leather. And it works really well. I like the color that I got there. So yeah, Nut Brown's another great one. 9427. It is a little purpley, but if you like Volcano Brown and you want something that works with things a little bit better than that, I'd say Nut Brown is a little bit better. And you could still, with a little bit of white and maybe a little bit of futzing, you could get it to match Volcano Brown. Yeah. For a base coat, maybe, as long as it covered okay. I mean, I haven't used craft paint for a very long time, but they used to have real coverage issues. So if you airbrushed it, if it was airbrushable, I have no idea. Honestly, if you airbrush, you could totally just get away with a bottle of Master Series. You'd probably go through a whole bottle. But I think you could, because you're thinning it with the airbrush, but it covers a little bit better, I think you could totally get away with one bottle of Master Series and an airbrush on the ship. I mean, maybe Michael Proctor would have something to say about that, or Lovejoy, as far as how far a bottle of Master Series goes in the airbrush. Like, those guys would be the experts. But knowing how much you thin it, I would be surprised. Just Yeah, JS, since I didn't make that one, and I haven't used it yet, I can't speak to it. So I can't tell you even, like, what it's like, because I haven't done it. I have that box of paint, like, sitting right here for me to do a PDF on soon. But I've got so many colors that I just haven't gotten to the new colors yet. Let's see. Do I have that color, though? Because Wyvern Leather doesn't sound like it might be in this. No, this is the Virtual Expo colors. Is Wyvern Leather a new Bones color? In which case I wouldn't have it. Then I don't have it. Cool. Yeah, it's a newer Bones color probably then. I don't have a lot of those colors, guys, so I have no idea. No idea about, what it looks like. And a swatch means nothing to me because I have to see it in my hands. I have to know, like, what pigments are in it. When I'm talking about, like, base browns that I recommend, I speak from these are high coverage, they don't clash, they are harmonious with other colors. The rich leather has a very specific usage, which is why I mentioned if you do NMM gold, rich leather is your go-to. But otherwise, those other browns, and I don't know how Wyvern compares to that, so I can't speak to that. There's a bunch of paints that I'm planning to pick up when I go to ReaperCon, just because I can look at them in person and grab them then. But I'd very much look for utility lately in my colors. And I also look at how close they are to other colors, or if I'm looking, like, if there's a color out there that I like but I think could be a little better, then when a new color comes out that's like it, I totally look at it. Okay, so it's more like chestnut. Then I don't know if reddish browns are problematic. You have to be careful with them. They look great with greens and blues and purples, but they don't look as good with muted colors or reds or oranges. So you gotta, it depends on the experience of the painter. Can be good to mix. If it's like a burnt sienna, then, I mean, the main usage of burnt sienna in the old days was to mix skin tones. But nowadays, that's not the case. Most painters use skin tones like out of a bottle, and maybe they doctor them a little bit, but just reinforcing my my Kraken ink here, guys. All right, so let's get to these stripes and making them a little bit more. MSPs don't need a lot of thinning to go through an airbrush, so it's just, that's right, because doesn't Lovejoy use it thicker but spray it on at a lower pressure? I remember now. So I'm going to use, I'm mixing up and I'm really thinning this Wyvern ink, or sorry, Kraken ink. Wyvern ink. Everything is Wyvern. Wyvern leather, Wyvern, Wyvern ink. Who knew that Wyverns produced ink? You could probably, like, you know, burn one down, you know, like, maybe, like, you know, cremate one and use that for ink. But yeah, burnt sienna is a good color if you want a very reddish leather. Like I said, that can be very good on, with a miniature done in a lot of blue. Or green. Because the red plays well. That's why a lot of classical painters used burnt sienna as a base for auburn or red hair. Higher pressure. Call it to 40. Yeah, you can tell I don't airbrush. I leave that to Michael and Aaron, the experts. Every once in a while, there's a thing in the hobby where I'm just like, I should get good at that eventually. And then I'm like, you know, it's going to take me a lot of time to get good at that. I think I'm just going to put it off. So I'm introducing some more dark over here with the Kraken ink. And I'm going to grab and try to overpaint some of these stripes with more of a reddish color. The fact that there's a dark base under them is going to make it appear darker. So I may have to glaze with orange like I did over these original stripes. But I want to get these stripes looking closer to each other on each side, so. High pressure called to 40. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, listen to Aaron. Aaron is a super pro, and he is so good with the airbrush. Don't listen to me. Just take, I'm just going to start saying, talk to Aaron Lovejoy. Because he's the man. And if you haven't seen it, his, I hope it's still running. Their Kickstarter is out. They did a bunch of miniature painting books that they're kickstarting, and Aaron has one. Aaron and Liz and Matt DiPietro are featured in one of the books. And they are all good. All great painters. And you get a nice range of mindsets, too, with those three painters, I think. I think that, like, Aaron obviously is a pro with the airbrush and is very high utility. Yeah, but he has a good, like, compositional vision. But then Matt DiPietro is very much traditional art, has a traditional art mindset more, I think. Thinks more like a canvas painter in the way he paints. So yeah, I told Aaron I would plug his Kickstarter on my stream. So there we go, Aaron. I just plugged your Kickstarter on my stream. If you go and look at his Facebook page, he's probably got it up linked. But it's Miniature Monthly, and I'm pretty sure if you looked on Kickstarter for Miniature Monthly, you could find it. So we're just making these lines a little bit heavier. We can always come back and make them lighter by doing the glazes. So crows, sadly I gotta say I don't have a lot of interest in doing those, because the problem with doing those is that it's all wood. So after the first day of showing you, like, the techniques you can use on wood, it would be boring. So when I choose models usually with a variety of surfaces and textures and things that I can talk about. Because there is nothing worse than, like, picking a big model that's all the same thing. It's why we don't do big dragons on here. And I was taught this when we did, I was taking, just so you guys wonder what I'm doing, I'm taking some Kraken ink and I'm going back over these stripes to darken them like these. But I learned this on Dance of Death when the original Reaper, it wasn't Pro Tips, Reaper Toolbox aired, you know, a couple of years ago. Back then, I was doing dragons all day, every day, and although everybody stuck with it, or a lot of people stuck with it, it became terribly boring, both for me and for everybody watching. So, like, if I did one, I would just grab one, use it for a single day, and then just toss it like I, whatever, cast it aside. It will no longer be my friend. Yeah, because there's just a limited amount of stuff you can do there. I mean, I actually think I've got like a cart. I've got a wooden thing to kind of do something like that on. I'll have to look over in my Reaper models. So I'm bringing in some light over here. I'm painting some of my, I used a mixture of the orange brown with a little bit of bleached linen, which is a great off-white if you want to kind of, use an off-white to highlight things instead of getting when you use pure white, it sometimes gets a little brighter. If you want it muted, I tend to use a muted white. 9436 bleached linen is a great off-white. I think the best of our off-whites, honestly. In my personal opinion. I'm going to actually do a glaze here. I'm going to mix up some thinned mahogany just on part of my palette. And when I tend to mix a spot glaze where I only need a tiny bit, I don't even use a well. I just mix it up on an upper surface. Morning, Winterkill. And Hootie. We are battling the wings. We are trying to make our wings look good on both sides. So, like, if I want to bring in, I can even grab a little water, blend that in. I felt like I was getting a little pasty there, and I wanted a richer color. And this is pretty dark over on this side. So what I can do now is grab a little bit of my orange, and even while this is still wet, I can do some layering. Wet blending actually is what it technically is at this point. I'm layering into the glaze. Not for the faint of heart. Don't try this at home, kids. When I got impatient, I just started like using my glazes as grounds for like wet blending, and it worked. So now I do it. So then we've got a little bit more blending. We brought in a little bit more of our light. We've got a lot of striations. See these little ripples on the wings over here? We've got a lot of this. So up here, and there's more of them here than there are here. So when you're doing wings, it's not always going to be a matter of you can make it perfectly symmetrical. You just have to kind of work with what you've got. Ah, yeah, that's a good reference. Thanks, Val. Hopefully somebody will find it if it was uploaded. I'm going to thin my orange a little bit here because I'm having to thin it up with my brush on the palette, and that is something I should be doing on a wet palette, not a well palette. Oh, if you found the link, and but it's not going to let you link it because you're not a mod, so Quindy or Planer can catch it, or John. Oh, there we go. So just search that. I don't know. I haven't watched that class, so I don't know how it is, but I mean, give it a chance. All right, so I'm gonna take, you can see I'm turning it so the light shows me where to put my highlights. You can see the light is hitting. You see that lighter streak? That's from my ring light because I'm tilting the model at this angle, and it's making it easier to see the areas that would be catching the light. I always recommend using your standard overhead light to help you with this if you have problems placing highlights. There we go. And then that looks nice. And I think we maybe need just a few more shadows over here on these little, because these little folds are like that, but they're not showing up as well. There we go. Quindy the rescue. I knew it. I knew she'd be there for us. Quindy is the mod goddess these days, for sure. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of my kind of glaze of mahogany that I got earlier, that I made earlier, and I'm painting it in to bring out those folds. See? And I kind of like to do this, if I'm doing patterns, I like to do the patterns and then go back in with some shading and highlighting, just to make the patterns look like they're integrated into the surface. They're part of it. and not that you just painted them on the outside. That's the problem with patterns, is they can look so artificial and like you just painted them on top of things, which you did, of course, but we want to hide that. There, now wait, see, that's nice. That's coming out. Actual work, that's not a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. Quindy should be able to mod us all the time. At will. Pesky real jobs. I know how it goes, though. Don't worry about it, Quindy. You're a goddess anyway. The fact that you can do this while working a real job just makes you more of a goddess, really. Bug Lips better know how good he's got it. That's all I'm saying. Not every goblin gets to marry a goddess, really. Or at least, you know, have the attentions of a goddess. Alrighty, there we go. Actual works is totally rude. You function best when multitasking? You're one of those people, huh? I used to be one of those people, and then I lost it. Like, I don't know what it was, but I totally lost it. And now I find that I am far more effective if I single task. Hey, Inara. You'll clip that and send it to him? Good, good. Yes, absolutely do so. I'll stand by it. But yeah, like doesn't Twitch have mod day? Like, don't they actually have like a moderator appreciation week or something like that? Because seriously, you people keep it going. Because like I know on my stream, Liquid Nebula is my mod, my nebulator, and I so appreciate the time and effort that you guys put in to making things move smoothly and, you know, you put up the stuff for the chat so that we can concentrate on showing you cool painting and things. So you've lost the ability to task, period. Winterkill mood. Oh, and Gesundheit, David. the chat says. They said bless you, actually, but I'll say Gesundheit because that's my version. Yes.
That's the extent of how German you are?
That's the extent of how German I am, yeah. I was probably more German as a kid because then we actually ate things like sauerkraut and made bratwurst from, you know, by hand. But I've somewhat escaped those traditions now. Maybe if we go to Germany during Oktoberfest, I can rediscover my Germanishness, but I don't know. Gesundheit. Yeah, it's a weird spelling because German. Gesundheit. I have to stop and think about how to spell it. And even then, I probably spell it wrong, so don't feel bad. All right, so pretty much what I'm doing here is I'm working back and forth until I feel like I'm closer to what I'm looking for. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice is that the orange is coming up a lot lighter and brighter on this side, and that's because we did some darker glazes and like darker color over on this side, so it's shifted it, and we've lost some of our light and bright. And this is something that happens with oranges. If you get too dark on them, bringing them back up is a pain. And so essentially the way to deal with it is to do white or to do an off-white. So let's actually do that and get some of our brighter orange back. I'm going to grab just a bit of pure white, and I'm going to grab my orange, brown, and I'm going to mix a little bit of it in just to create an orange off-white. Now, somebody asked me the other day, I guess it was yesterday on my own stream, if I would ever just use, like, I was essentially using black and white to underpaint some poisonous daggers, glowing poisonous daggers. And they asked me if I would ever use just a very pale green. And I said, no, not really. For this, if I want a glow effect, I wouldn't. But if I'm underpainting to recapture some vibrancy, like I'm planning to put the bright orange over the top of this, then I would use an off-white instead of a pure white, just to make it a little bit closer to the orange that I'm planning to reintroduce. So I'm going to pop that. I'm going to thin it way down. And then I'm going to bring my my orange brown in on top of it and see if I can reclaim a little bit of the color that we got originally with the orange brown straight over the pale bones material. Oh no! Bye, Max. Bye, Max. Sorry. Sorry about work. Pesky, pesky work. Work is just like a plague upon us today. All right, there we are. So I've thinned this way, way, way down. Because this is pure white, you have to thin it way, way, way down. So how thin is it? It is really watery, see it? And that's kind of what I want. I don't want to see brush strokes so much when I come onto this wing. A little bit of brush strokes, okay. But mostly I want to be able to get this bright color back. So I want to, and I'm going to be putting a glaze over it. So it is going to blend it in. So a little bit of brush strokes, okay. You know what? I think I'm a little bit, am I in focus, out of focus? What am I? There, now I'm in focus. Yeah, you know, Shadow Raven, you'd be fine at modding. I mean, it does mean you can't just say what's in your head, though, right? You have to be, yes, you have to adult. So I'm going to grab, and I've just got a little bit of that in there, that off-white. Now I'm going to grab my, my orange-brown, and I'm going to paint it over the top. And what happens then is magic. You get that bright orange back. See? Just like we've got same color we've got over here. So we've essentially been able to recover from putting too much dark down over here by painting some off-white that mixed with the orange that we're using. And you could use pure white. It just makes it harder to layer, I think, you know, but you could do it. Just means you have to thin it even more. And if I want to, if I really want to bring some of my orange up in some of these smooth areas, I could do a couple layers of this and glazes. And this isn't a perfect layering consistency. This is probably about a 1 to 2 paint to water, so it is very thin. But I'm still getting little brush marks, but it won't matter because the glaze goes over it. Magic! Yes, exactly. It's magic. Hi, Bob and Julie. I hope Friday is treating you well in Arizona. There we go. Just bringing in that dark, there, that bright. Orange brown is much more bright than you give it credit for. It's much more vibrant color. So that has brought back our color there. And if we really wanted to, we did use a little bit, I think, of fire orange on this. So if I wanted to really bring in that light color, I could do that just by bringing it in a little bit. You can see like the color here now is very similar to over here. I've brought back a bit of the lightness. It's more akin. You don't quite get all the way back to your original coat over a light color. I mean, I could work at it and probably get there, but let me shake this up a little bit better. This fire orange likes to... It's meh. I'm sorry. Sorry it's a meh Friday. Hopefully it improves for you. Yeah, a lot of people have that problem, but it's a matter of practice. The filter, I mean. It's just like the filter I put in place when I was doing Paint Club, where it was the family-friendly filter, and there were very few days where a curse word slipped out at Paint Club for me. It happened, but very infrequently. But it's just practice. You just strengthen your inside voice so it stays inside. Although it also, you know what, Shadow Raven, though, some streams are, like mine are just so chill for the most part. The most you have to do is like ban like the people who keep asking if we want to be famous. So all right, so we're going to do that. We're going to bring in a little bit more light here. Now I just want hints of this more vibrant orange up on these areas that I highlighted earlier. And so I'm going to do the pale color first. Baby quail! Oh, good! Baby things are so cute. Yes, heroic green users are heroic, exactly. It's just practice then. You just, like, it is just practice. And it's like any, okay, so like willpower and resistance and things like that are all just muscles in your brain. Like equivalent to brainal muscles, mental muscles. And the more you practice them, the stronger they get. So there was a time when I had very little filter in my life. I still have very little filter compared to some people, but I'm improved. And it's just like exercising it. And you don't expect to be perfect right away. A lot of people, this is another one of those examples where everybody expects to be perfect right away. They make a resolution not to swear as much in front of their kids or something like that, right? And then they fail at it and they think, "Oh, I'm just terrible at this," and they stop trying. But in reality, it's the constant, kind of attempt to get better that is what makes you good at it. But, if it's not really important to you and you don't really have a use for it, then for me, I have a use for it because, I try to keep my streams family friendly because if I have kids who want to log on and watch an old lady like me paint, then awesome. I don't want to, be swearing up a storm at them. Maybe they'd respect me more if I did though. Today's audience is a little bit wonky, but I like to be wholesome, as they say, as the young people say. So, there. There we go. So now we got that nice and see how much brighter that is now. That's good. I like that. We're much closer to where we were in the beginning now. I still feel like I've lost a little bit of my yellow. There is a certain level of transparency when because I painted this pretty thinly over the base paint or the base material. There is a certain level of like see-through where you're getting the color of the orange stretched over this pale gray, and no amount of paint can get that back for you, but you can at least bring it back a little bit. So I think I've gotten close now. My stripes are still a bit dark on some areas over here. I've darkened down my stripes on this side. I think I need to darken them a little bit more. You know. Yes, wholesome family entertainment. I'm glad that you appreciate my filter, Grey Wolf. It took a long time to build, but it was something I started working on when I started doing Paint Club, which would be, I don't know, 30 years ago. Insane. Long time ago, where we were always painting in game stores, and there's always going to be kids around, and I just didn't want to be that person. So I started developing my filter. Especially at Reaper Paint Club, which is really family friendly. So, like, little kids do come, their parents do bring them, and you definitely want to make it a good environment. You don't know what the parents' philosophies are. Maybe they don't care if their kids here swearing all the time, but you never want to assume. I think if you have worked a lot with the public in any sort of capacity, you kind of get like a feel for that. If you're in an industry where there are kids around, you start working on your filter unconsciously. Pale gray with the bones, Pendrake. When you're painting your orange, a translucent color like orange over the pale gray, this area is not a highlight. This is the orange just being stretched really thin over the pale gray. And you're never going to get that back like here. Like I'd have to work really hard at it. I might be able to get it back if I really put some white down pretty heavily and started glazing some clear orange over it, but I can get close. It's really close. I can see the difference in person. I just laid it down in here to lighten up the area and make it closer in color to what I had over here. And I'm glazing with a bit of orange to bring back vibrancy like I have over here. But you need the white under there to get this to go saturated again. Because orange is so translucent that if you're putting it over darker colors, you're not going to get that back. Like, it's really, really hard. It would take zillions of layers. This is where people give up on yellow and orange and sometimes even red. But they just don't know the trick. So the white mix, and I'm actually going to go and even bring it in really faintly. I'm going to bridge over these spines, or these stripes. And if your white mix is thin enough, you can still see a little bit of the stripe through it. Yeah, just put your, I mean, this is, like I said, this is thinned like a lot. This is almost layering consistency. And layering consistency with anything with this much pure white in it is pretty much 2.5 drops of water to 1 drop of paint. So it's really bloody thin. That was a swear word for the Brits in the audience. Sorry, guys. Or Australians. See, I've got too much paint on my brush, so I'm getting brush strokes. When you're working with really opaque, thin paint, you want to have very little of it on your brush. Because if you get puddles, then it's going to come off really strong. And yes, you're going to be painting over it, but... So I'm going to bring this in a little bit more. And then I'm going to paint my orange over the top. Oh, good, Adam. Glad. I hope that you get some good mileage out of it. I hope it helps your painting. It should let you do like super thin mixes like this at least. And the nice thing about this is that this is going to stay at this consistency. Like this is about 4 drops of paint with maybe 8 drops of water in it. So it's a pretty big fluid, like it's a big puddle. And so it's going to stay at that consistency for quite a while without me even having to touch it. So I'm going to glaze some of my clear or my fire orange over the top of this, the white that I just put down. I'm going to just bring it over the whole wing. Why not? Why not, indeed. So that's actually gone even a little lighter. See, now we've gone a little more yellow than we got over here. So now I'm going to need to grab a little bit of my orange brown. You can go too far the other way, and here we have. But we definitely have some groundwork that we can work over now. Like I can take my orange brown and grab some thinned orange brown and put a layer of that over the top, and that's probably going to get us where we need to be. So I'm going to make that as a separate well, actually, because I may want that glaze at some other point. So we'll make a well of it. And sometimes you have to just go back and forth. I mean, I say this a lot. There's a lot of back and forth futzing that happens for me to get something to the point where I really, really like it. Because usually I just charge in, like I did here. And then I'm like, okay, how do I have to adjust this now? Because it's not working. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm just putting it over the whole thing. Whole thing. Whole thing. But I am losing a little bit of my my red in the shadows, and I don't want that. So I'm going to grab some of my mahogany. Make sure I don't lose that shadow there. So again, doing some wet blending with my glaze, not for the faint of heart, but if you're confident with your glazing and with your paint consistency, you can do it. So now we're getting more vibrant, but we're still very yellow. And the whole reason that we're a lot of yellow is that I went for this fire orange, which has a lot more yellow in it than the orange brown does. So we'll keep dropping it down. I won't do a glaze over everything. This will let me work with these dark stripes a little bit. Sweet. Awesome, Zen. Yes, the bot is named after Dave. It's true. That is super that you're coming to the con. All right, I am going to grab this orange again. We went from too dark to too light. It's so funny. I'm going to do, let me see what I can do here. Maybe? Yeah, I'm just kind of going back and forth. It is a Wyvern dragon eye. It is, in fact, this. Chimera, maybe? If it's a 3-headed something that Julie sculpted. But anyway, it is a Wyvern. Sculpted by our very own green users, Julie Guthrie. And I am going to put a little bit more. Ah, that's way too strong. Whoa, look at that. Big blorf. Big blorf. Guess what, though? Blorf is easy to take out. Just thin it. Yeah, I'm not going to ever do a full dragon on stream again. They just take, as I was saying earlier, just like boats, they take too long. And it's all scales. It's all scales. And I mean, you could demo different types of scales on it, but then your dragon, like, there's no point in painting the whole dragon because, you know, you're going to have different scales on every part of it, which, you know, is counterproductive to a dragon that looks like, you know, a dragon should, I guess, in my mind. So, just mixing a little bit more water into my mix. My mahogany brown mix. The other nice thing about this mahogany brown is that it covers like a dream. It's really good. High coverage, dark brown red. Pet Astro, I always said it Wyvern when I was a kid, but then I heard a lot more people saying Wyvern, so I just do Wyvern. Oh, man. Yeah, Sidwe, I tend to just use paint. I don't print out banners ever, I just paint them. So, the colors, actually, you know what? You are on my, Patreon. Go look for the book episode. You would use the same kind of foxing and darker, like, glazes, technically for banners, or the other thing you could use is shield brown, which is a dirty color. Um, I mean, it's like, yeah, but I would do it the way I do books by putting you want darker tracks toward the outside edges. So yeah, go and look at that. That should help, hopefully. That's what I would do anyway. If you want to know what I would do, that's what I would do. That same technique. Howvern, Wyvern, Whenvern, Nowvern. Grey Wolf, I did 2 of them back in the dawn of time. We did them with pretty fast techniques, but back when Reaper Pro Tips was Reaper Toolbox on Wednesdays, I painted the Dance of Death, which is Julie's diorama of 2 dragons fighting. And that is when we learned that there can be too much of a good thing, or at least a dragon thing. Because it just gets very boring, because you're always doing the same thing. Because it's a dragon. This is why so few, except for like Aaron, who like does so much of it now with airbrush, but so few of us are high level painters tend to paint dragons. This takes so long, and it's so much work, and it's all the same stuff. Unless you have a cool dragon, like David has one with feathers on it over on the side there, and that's pretty cool. That's a lot of different surfaces, but that's an exception. In the Tube of Views. Yeah, I mean, it should be in the Reaper YouTube. It's just really old. So it's back when I was at Reaper, and it's a different setup. So I'm going to thin down some of these dark stripes too. But now I'm getting the stripes to look the same. See how the color looks the same on both sides now? So we've finally managed to like equalize the problem that we created ages ago. And X-Vern or a Z-Vern. You could do that too. Know what I mean, Vern. Oh dear. No earnest flashbacks, please. Alright. I still am missing a bit of saturation here on this wing, though. Still needs to be more orangey. More orangey, please. Because I've almost got these things adjusted, and now I'm like, must persevere until I get there. It's getting very close. Yeah, it could be. Potato, potato. What was the other... What was the one we were trying to look up the other month? Oh, pecan. 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 Yeah, exactly. Like that. Though it is regional for sure. NPR said so, and I trust what they said. It's like Kev White's little boy coming up to me at a past ReaperCon and me asking him if he was enjoying his sucker, and him very much affronted at me in his tiny little British accent going, "It is not a sucker, it is a lollipop." So, you know. Put in my place. Probably it's like these weird Americans calling things by the wrong names. There. All right, that's better. Hello, Nomad Zeke. We are apparently diving into entomology. Which one is the bug?
Entomology. Etymology
Is bugs?
is words. Entomology.
Okay,
is
we are
bugs.
diving into etymology. I need to remind myself of like Ents, and Ents have bugs crawling on them because they're trees, and so then I will remember. And etymology is what we are like diving into now. Regional colloquial word usage and pronunciation. Biscuits and gravy. Oof. Oh, not really. Nomad Zeke. Yay, post-op. Hey, at least then it's over, right? Like, you always feel so relieved, or at least I always felt so relieved, because it's like, yay, at least the surgery is over, now I just have to get better. But yes, if you're looking for entertainment, we are moderately okay entertainment at the moment, I would say. But you may have low standards, just still being on good drugs. Ah, dear. And I'm just gonna come in and map out some of these stripes I just like kind of scribbled on, but now I can start mapping them out a little bit stronger. So I've got some, a little bit thinned paint, and I don't want to use a lot of it on my brush. I'm using little dashes, because I want kind of an irregular effect. If I blurf like I did there, then I'm just going to come back and wipe it out. Man, okay, I grew up where they called it a bubbler, and I still thought that was the weirdest thing. Drinking fountain, thank you. Adults that called it the bubbler, I was just like, you are so weird. Okay, that's getting better. Oh no, in Wisconsin, there was definitely an ER at the end in our Wisconsin. We had some weird, like, verbal crossovers, I think, in the Midwest. These, I got a little thick here. Remember, we want, as our stripes go out toward the edges, we're trying to make them thinner. And when I was just sketching in stripes, I made these pretty thick. So I'm going to come back and narrow them up with a bit of orange mixed with some white to trim those down and make them thinner. Yeah, the biscuit thing. Luckily, enough of us have gotten indoctrinated by the British baking show that now we understand what a biscuit is in England. Which digestive biscuits now make sense. Although that's the best marketing ploy ever, right? Hey, it's a digestive cookie. You can totally eat it. It's good for your digestion. Like, if that isn't the best, like, advertising scheme for a cookie that I've ever heard. There we go. We're just narrowing down those stripes. Yeah, it is stretch time, Estrogene. You're good. I want to fix one more stripe and then we can stretch. Digestive cookies. That's right, Mighty Jabberwock. Which technically are probably just whole grain cookies, right? With maybe some additional, like, flaxseed or other stuff that's supposed to be good for your digestion added in. There we go. I'm going to just trim up a little bit on these stripes to make them a little bit skinnier before I come in and bring them out and decide if I'm going to add in some stuff. Asconi? Weird. That's new. That's new, D. Clearman. Since I escaped from Wisconsin, that must be something that's occurred. It's got to be a new thing because it was not a traditional, at least not a traditional central southeastern Wisconsin thing from, I mean, maybe it was an up north thing, but I can't speak for DUP but and northern Wisconsin, which tends to be very UP in accent, at least. Yeah, so this is a late stretch time, but that's fine. I've been running late all day, and I started the stream a little late. Like I said, I went really late yesterday. We streamed until almost 11:30, so I feel like I just gave my Wyvern a knife to chill on. Yes, I did find my knife, by the way. Ah, you escaped back to Wisconsin, Dragon Eye. Maybe the UP. Yeah. Scony. Scony sounds like it would be a UP thing. Kinda. I don't know. My Wisconsin farm family relatives on my mom's side do have an accent that is very, very close to the UP accent. Yeah, that's exactly. I pretty much don't need the stretch break now, but it is healthy to do so after an hour, so sitting is the new smoking, as they say. Yeah, I was from southeast Wisconsin as well, Dragon. I grew up in Bristol, where the Renaissance Fair lives. Yeah, pretty much. Whenever Ann wants to do it. I think about an hour in is pretty good. Today is a rest day. Every day is a stretch day for me. A knife was hiding with Wolf and Girl, because I still had green stuff and trimming and shaving to do. So Giant Wolf Rider had the knife. It was right next to her. Because I just had to stop for 2 seconds and actually think about where I last used it, and then I remembered, and then I found it right away. It's just hard to get that stop time for your brain in the middle of a stream because you're conscious of it would be like trying to do it up on stage in front of people. Like, it's really hard to remember something in that environment, but then if you get like 2 seconds backstage and you have time to stop and think about where you last saw it, then you're fine. No, I didn't start painting Grey Wolf. I'm prepping the Wolfie. The Wolfie needs a ton of green work. So while I am painting the Halfling, I am prepping the Wolfie. We did get some work done yesterday on my stream on the poisonous daggers, though, of the Halflings. So, alright, I'm going to go down and do my floor exercises, and then I will be back. Beans! Oh, nice! Green beans? Dragon tongue beans. Ha! Yellow with purple stripes. I have never heard of yellow beans with purple stripes. Alrighty. My dill is extremely exuberant still. My basil is growing much slower. I never thought my dill would grow faster than my basil, but apparently that's a thing. There's a reason it's called dill weed, right? Because it grows like one. Alrighty. Can take his pillow away. Oh, and hydrate. Don't forget to hydrate, everybody. But yeah, there's still green work I need to do on Big Wolfie. And of course, I can't start painting Big Wolfie until Halfling is done, so. Expect to see a Halfling on my own stream in the next couple weeks, probably, unless I put in some time on her over the weekend. And get a lot more progress on it. Alright. I'm feeling a little bit better about this. I feel like I still need a little bit more red in here. The wings, I mean, wings are a big thing on these models, and that's why it's such a shame that it's hard to paint good wings. It's like, You tend to see really boring wings, or you tend to see like wings where people start to get ambitious and then they're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But wings can be like a pivotal point on the model, right? So you've got all this room to do something interesting and creative with. But it also is fraught with peril because you've got all this room to do something interesting and creative with. Which is not always easy. Just bringing in some of my red here. I think we're getting close there. We're getting better. We're getting better. Yeah. Okay. We'll keep working on our wings out here. So I think I want darker stripes up near here and have the stripes go more red out toward the edges, except like in this panel we can get a little darker because we have in the past. So we'll still make these stripes a little bit darker so that we can match with what we've already done over here. But I do like to make them kind of wobbly. Not straight. They're much more interesting. If doing straight stripes it just doesn't make sense to me because of how stripes tend to be on animals in the wild. They tend to be a little bit irregular. Yeah, I'd leave that Shadow Raven. I am doing it in a pot, so it can't really spread or be crazy. Yeah. I have my dill under a grow light, and it seems to really like it, next to a window. It gets afternoon light. So we'll see how it does. I don't need it for many things, but there are a few recipes that use it that... Oh, high heat and rain, no rain, yeah. That's what my problem was in Texas. That and the wildlife eating it. Like, I tried an outdoor herb garden in Texas, and it did not work. I was sad. But here, it's much easier, but we don't have a great outdoor space with a lot of sun, so indoors is... Our herbs seem to like being indoor herbs. Okay, so just again reinforcing these wing patterns a bit. Using kind of a little dab of a brush stroke. And my paint is slightly thinned because I don't want really harsh lines. I don't want, I want to be able to kind of make these look like they're blending into the skins. So the more of a strong brush stroke you use, the more you can kind of like, they just look like lines. I can't have tomatoes twisted on my. They're my bad health trigger. Like, they will make me ill. I avoid tomatoes at all costs. That's why I'm like she of the tomato substitute. Like, the whole tamarind and chopped peaches and now roasted red bell pepper is my latest sub, and it worked really well in the curry this week. Yes, I agree with you, Winterkill. They are evil. Happily, I was never, like, I did like fresh salsa, but I can still have fresh tomatillo salsa, so I'm okay with there. In fact, I kind of prefer the flavor of the tomatillo, so... otherwise, I do not miss tomatoes. Yeah, curry's awesome. My Indian cooking kick is, still going, but I'm going to pick up some Thai cooking. That's why I want my Thai basil to grow faster. It needs to get big enough for me to slaughter. But it probably hears me saying that, and then it's like, nope, we're going to grow really slow. You won't be able to slaughter us till Christmas. They do say that plants grow better if you say nice things to them, so maybe I need to compliment it. What do you think? Do you guys buy that? Those studies that show that if you talk nicely to plants, they grow better? No. Maybe David doesn't believe. David doesn't believe. But then David regularly tries to kill his plants. So I don't know he's a reliable judge. Yeah, cucumber and apples.
I don't actively try to kill them.
You just kill them through neglect. Yeah.
That's true. I do neglect my plants.
I don't know. I'm a fan of lamb curry, Winter. I love curried. My curried cinnamon lamb stew is my fave still. And that was a recipe I had before I started all this. Although that's technically like more of African recipe. Moroccan. Music seems to work. I do like cucumbers and I do like apples. Although right now I have fresh cut up cantaloupe, so I'm pretty happy. Although this cantaloupe was not as good as the last cantaloupe. Don't you hate it? Your cantaloupe smells ripe, you break it open, and it just doesn't taste as good as the last cantaloupe. Like, what is that with cantaloupe? Is it that I didn't let it ripen enough? Because I left it sitting out for quite a while, and I was pretty sure that I needed to use it soon. Or does it lose flavor if you leave it to sit too long? I guess that's a question. Ah, that's what everybody says. Everybody says that if you talk to your plants, you're probably also taking better care of them because you're that kind of person, and that's why studies found that talking to plants made them thrive better. That's true. Could be what is that, causation or correlation? I don't remember.
Yeah, that's correlation.
Okay.
Plus, there's also, 90% of the studies found there was no correlation, and those were not interesting. So there's the file drawer effect.
Ah, the what effect?
The file drawer effect?
File drawer effect. So if it's not an interesting study, it's not publicized, and so everybody only hears the interesting study.
Exactly.
Even if 90% of the studies prove that talking to plants is nothing.
It's not just that it's not publicized, it's often not even published.
Oh, interesting.
Like the researcher will conduct the study, not find anything interesting, and then never tell anyone.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that. Humans are so weird.
Well, that's the file drawer effect, because,
I'm gonna get my claws in here, guys.
If you're a scientist, an academic, you need to get published in order to, have success in your career, and uninteresting results don't get published.
Yep. I'm glad you didn't go into academia. It sounds like a very frustrating career.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't go into academia too.
Yay. Claws. So I'm going to do dark claws. Can you see how that ties the model together better with the dark stripe down the back and then going dark with the claws, guys? If I go light with the claws, I don't have any anchor that ties this to the rest of the model. But the minute I put that Kraken ink on those claws, now suddenly we have something tying together all of that area. And if I do it on these claws as well, I have a grow light already, Pendrake. That's what my little basils are growing under. That's, I think, the reason they sprouted so quickly, actually. Publish or perish, yeah. I like to tell my boss that it's his bad aura that kills his office plants. Oh, Quindy, you're evil. Maybe, okay, all right. You're an evil goddess. Now we know the truth. I am going to make the paw red, guys. We're going to do the membranes as a paler color, but I am going to keep the paw the same color as the skin on the other side, which is definitely red. Although my paint's a little thin now, but it's still sticking, so we're good. You didn't think you were hiding your evilness that well? Well, you're always benevolent goddess to us, Quindy. So I guess that it's just like, it's like we're the island of Reaper and you are our island goddess. And so for people that are outside of your benevolent aura, like, you are evil because you're just like, you aren't my people. But for those of us who are inside of your benevolent aura, we're like, she is the absolute best ever. I'm gonna say that that's true. That's gonna be my truth. That Quindy is a benevolent Reaper goddess. So now I have to figure out how far I'm gonna go with this red, because I'm gonna go with an off-white. I gotta decide if I'm maybe gonna go to orange, actually, on these struts here. I think I am gonna go red into here. Because the limbs definitely had a dark... Like, the limbs definitely went out to dark. And I have to remember, too, that the lower legs and feet are going to go to this dark purple, so I need to ask myself if I'm going to do that with the hands as well. The green bikini bottom. Yeah, it's the green stuff. It'll all get painted over. That's where the mold lines, the lines were, the connector points were, so... I'm afraid the bikini bottom doesn't get to stay. You'll just have to enjoy it while it's there. I don't usually. I mean, sometimes I'll brush primer over it, but on bones I wouldn't. I just paint over it. Especially with something like this, then. Okay, so if the green stuff is in an area that you're going to handle or touch a lot, then I would definitely prime over it. But since this is green stuff in an area that's on the underside of the model, and once I glue it down, it's never going to get touched, then there's no reason, I think, to prime it. Oh, have lunch, Shadow Raven, yeah. Have someone bring you food. Oh. So let's do this in red, and then I think I'm going to make the paws purple. I'm going to take them down to a purple. Again, my paint is really thin here, so if it doesn't stick, I'm not too surprised, but it's doing all right. Right now I'm using the tail as a holder, so the tail will be the last thing that gets painted. Tails are just a very useful place to hold dragons by, I'm afraid. Sorry. Sorry, dragons. I know I'm probably not supposed to carry you around by your tail, but... I mean, most of the time with other living things, that's generally a bad idea. Alright. Alrighty, so touch up this paw, and then we'll do our claws. He's getting there. Our wings look a lot better now. At least I've solidified the stripes on this wing. I need to solidify the stripes over here too, but we've been bouncing around a little bit. I have gluten-free, low-carb tortillas that are made of egg and cauliflower flour, like ground-up cauliflower. Which totally would be like that. Like, I could put sliced strawberries and whipped cream on that and eat it as a dessert. And now that you have brought that up, Twisted Oma, it's totally going to be a thing. Because I have a problem with those tortillas that I don't eat them fast enough. So this sounds like a fix. Strawberry whipped cream egg roll up. Coming right up. Weird as it sounds. Got our dark claws on there. Glad you could help. Yeah, you know. I've actually been thinking about finding some, like, there's got to be somebody selling, like, cauliflower, dried ground cauliflower for flour. Since you've got those cauliflower crust pizzas and stuff. I would like to make my own little egg tortilla crepe things. I guess I could use a different sort of flour, but... The nice thing about cauliflower is that it's so low calorie. I do love crepes. We do have... See, we don't have a good wing... I was just saying earlier, David, the one restaurant we do not have in close proximity is a really good wings place. Like, it's really weird and alien to me. Because there were wings all over Texas and all over Wisconsin. get that in there. Little paws, little claws. We'll darken the hands a bit, but I'm going to leave some of the red, so I'm mostly going to use the purple to shade it. Yeah, it's crack and ink. Same color on the back, because I wanted to pull that color. You can really see the purple now that I put that extra coat on. Pull that color around the model. So the claws, and I'm going to shade the arms and the hands with it. I'm going to do a little bit more shading on the side scales here as well. Oh, there's a way to do it, Winterkill. The key is, and I use cauliflower rice all the time because I'm low carb, so it's my only option for rice. But you've got to put it in a pan and fry it. Don't just nuke it in the bag. Don't just heat it up on a stovetop in a pot. Like, you actually put down like a thin layer of oil and get your like wooden scraper spatula out and like fry it until it starts to brown. Yeah. And once it starts to brown, the smell completely changes and it doesn't taste like cauliflower anymore. So I discovered that inadvertently because all I had was a shallow pan one time and I didn't feel like nuking it. I decided to try it in the pan, and that was what happened. Like after like 5 minutes or 6 minutes, as it started to brown, it like totally changed everything. And then it tastes fantastic. Like I could just eat it, like with salt and pepper on it. It was really, really good, and some olive oil. It was so good. So like, you know the difference, right? Like when you have some deep fried cauliflower and it tastes so great, right? It doesn't taste like cauliflower. That's the flavor it turns, but you have to cook it more. Well, I mean, if you never want to try it, if you don't have to eat it, but if you ever decide to try a diet or something that uses cauliflower rice a lot, give it a try. It probably takes about 7 or 8 minutes always use a non-stick pan in general is what I've found. Don't put a regular pan. Yeah, there's one, if I use fresh riced cauliflower, like I have the best results with frozen. If I use fresh riced cauliflower, then I find that it goes a bit more like mashed potato, like it doesn't keep its grains as well. All right, I'm thinning up some crack and ink. I'm going to do some shadows on these paws, and then we'll probably start wrapping things up. Oh, yeah. Using Thai herbs and spices on cauliflower rice. Good idea, too. But yeah, I find that if you just fry it, if you cook it a little longer at a little higher heat, that's the key. That's why, like, breaded fried cauliflower tastes totally different from cauliflower. Because the addition of the higher heat changes it. Because I was always puzzled, too, when I first started trying to use cauliflower rice. Because I loved fried cauliflower. But it tasted like not like cauliflower, and so I was like, well, what the heck? And then I ran into that, if I cook it a little longer and start to brown it, that it totally changes it. That was the game changer for me. Now I eat cauliflower rice like several times a week because we do so much curry and other stuff that requires rice. Anytime we do something that requires noodles, I just use cauliflower rice unless I feel like whipping out my shirataki noodles. But yeah, it's decent, but your mileage may vary. So if you feel like giving it a try, great. Otherwise, I will not be offended if you continue to dislike cauliflower rice. More for me. There is a big chunk of scales here that I totally failed to see the first time. It's kind of a cool way you switch this up, Julie, to carry the scales around the shoulder here and put a little bit of texture where normally, you've mostly got skin. I like it. It's a nice compositional thing, because if you were totally painting the belly a different color, and if you were painting all of this underbelly, if you've kept this all pale, that gives a nice interrupt. Like these little lines of scales that come down here between the neck and the shoulders gives a nice interrupt where you could introduce a contrasting color. That works unless you're trying to lose weight like me, Gray Mouser. Rice is high calorie and the carbs really just don't agree with me past a certain point. I found that my body functions best on lower carbs. Everybody's different, right? This is the key point of why one diet does not work for every person. Everybody is different. But what works for you works for you. Just do it. I'm jealous if you can still eat rice, because I do miss rice, like regular rice. Sometimes I let myself eat a little bit of David's. Or we do a mix. Like, there's some things like risotto where I have to use real rice, but I do it half and half with cauliflower rice. But yeah, do what works for you is the same in painting as with all of life. Because it had to have green stuff, Luther. That's where the leg pegs in, and the tail, and the leg pegged into the torso. Like, the tail and one leg was part of it, and then this is a separate leg. So we had to green stuff that, or we would have had an unsightly line instead of just an unsightly panty line. I think I'm going to carry this red all the way down to the collarbones. Bryce, you're funny. Yeah, there are times I miss having regular rice, but... There we are. We're just going to blend that in because I like how this shape looks. I like how the shape looks with the... having kind of the pale skin, but like almost like the shoulders are more armored. And then bringing the arms in as a separate color, but keeping the chest gray, and we're going to make it a gray and off-white just like in the concept art. But using this to introduce these shapes, like keep different shapes, like try not to just make it round, or where you can interrupt a silhouette. Makes it more interesting visually. Nope, not paint, green stuff. Whenever you see that green, assume it's green stuff on a model. Alrighty, I think we're good here. Just gonna spread out that red a bit. Oh, we have beeping outside. It's a good thing the stream's almost over. Good enough. Good enough. All right. Cool. And I started putting some shadows. You can see the Kraken ink very gently put between the digits there. And I'm doing that just having mixed it up at about a layering consistency. About a 1 to 2. I think. It's almost a glaze. It's somewhere between a wash and a glaze consistency for layering. But using this color to shade and bring out some definition there on the paw. And I was already using it, as you can see over here, to kind of shade between where clumps of scales are. I could also use this Kraken ink as a liner between scales. I missed this scale. This scale needs to be all Kraken ink. But I could go in with this as a liner very easily as well. Or just use it for general shading. There we are. So kind of breaking up the groups of scales there. Yeah, Kraken ink is a very cool color. I think it's my favorite color that Sadie's created. It's got a lot of great utility to it. It's got a nice transparency. It's nice and vibrant. Not too much black. It's a very, very useful color. Very good saturated dark. Excellent. Just getting some of the shading in. And there we are. Our Wyvern has taken steps today. It wasn't just wing day. It was also scale day, stripe day, and a whole bunch of other days. But what we did today, we tried to tackle our wing stripes and make them the same color on both sides, and bring this wing back up more orange since it had gone a little bit south. And we mapped in a bit more of our what's going to be red on our skin, and doing our little bit of shading here with our Kraken ink. And we solidified some patterns on the outskirts of our wings. So we did get a lot done around the wings and on the wings today. Oh, I feel like we need that's a little bit weird. We did not do that very skillfully. So let's take some of our red and our mahogany brown rather, and get that taken care of. And clean up our little thing there, and we've got to bring some orange in on those underneath membranes as well. But yeah, he's coming along. We didn't get to the underbelly today. It'll just have to come on another day. And we didn't quite get all the striping really solidified on this wing. We got it pretty good on the other side. So hopefully this has been helpful. I've got a little bit of a blurf there. I'll probably have to take it up by putting white over it. So if you make a dark blurf, cover it with off-white or white, and then paint your orange back over it, and you'll be fine. So yes, for anybody, and I mean, this, you could use the same technique with tiger stripes. I mean, just then if you're doing your little dashes to do the stripes, just make sure you're going in the direction that the hair would grow. And that's the way to paint tiger stripes. Or zebra stripes, or any furry creature stripes. Rawr. Yeah, but all in all, pretty cool. He's coming along. He's got some nice features on him, this wyvern, that make him a nice, interesting little beastie. Sorry, I need to cover up some areas that I missed the first time there. Excellent. So who's out there to raid, Reaper? There we go. There's our wyvern. So on Monday, guys, we are, it's Half Orc Monday, this time around. I am getting my shot, my second shot on Sunday. So there is some small chance that I may feel crappy on Monday, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm one of those people who just kind of goes la 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 and doesn't have a bad reaction to it. Knock on wood-like product. Sky Daddy, awesome. Sky's such a nice way to end the week. She's so upbeat. All right, guys, say hi to Sky Daddy for me, and I will see you again on Monday morning, shiny and bright. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.